This is a really quick introduction to Sampler, or a bit of a revision reminder with some vocabulary that's really important, so please watch. We have got a new software instrument. You know, of course, you can drag this into the track header area and create Crick Sampler, but of course that only uses one sample, and I've got four. That means that I need Sampler. So I'm going to drag these samples into the mapping area of the sampler, or the mapping window, mapping panel. I drag it in. I need to know what the root key is. That is the pitch at which the sample was recorded, the root key. I click and drag it into C3, which goes yellow, the root key goes yellow, and then at that point I can extend these zones left and right in order to pitch map them across different pitches. Root key, pitch map. If I do this, oh no, I've lost it. That's okay, I can just drag it back. No, all of the other zones have now disappeared. Oh well, I can just undo, can't I? I'll go Command and Z. Oh no, it's deleted the entire instrument. Oh no, I'll just redo that so it just goes back. Be aware that logic undo and redo does not apply to tiny changes within an instrument. You have to press this undo and this redo. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. It's something that's always irritated me about the system. Every software instrument, or at least most of them, tends to have these undo and redo buttons specific to changes that you are making within the instrument. You will forget, and it's really rubbish when you just accidentally delete stuff. So let's undo, let's go back to mapping and just undo those changes I made so we get back to here, and I can click these and drag these so that I pitch map them over different pitches, and that's all good. Just be careful as you're going through that you click on it and check that the root keys are still the correct pitch at which it was recorded at. You could stop it repitching, you could stop it pitch mapping, just play the same pitch over every sample if you like. Or let's do it here. Oh, I didn't turn pitch off. There we are. Perfect, but I do want it to actually repitch. Did I turn the pitch off for another one? Yes, I did. If I had made a mistake during recording and actually one of them was too quiet or too loud, I could change the volume. I could change the pan, potentially for parts of a drum kit. That's really, really useful. If I go into the zone view, this is getting too long and too complicated, but there are lots of things I can do here, including one shot and reverse, and I can right click and show other things besides, and those things are very powerful and useful. It's worth saying that right now I have a very useful ukulele. The only thing is that the strings sound like they just stop ringing immediately when I stop playing it. So here is the envelope. The envelope 1 is hardwired to the amplitude of the amplifier. Oh no, when I press that sample, can you see that? Can you hear that it's starting too late? Let's go into the zone editor. I click on that sample. Let's go back into this view, and I can see, oh no, there's lots of silence at the beginning of it, so I can just edit it a bit like that, like I do in the file editor or in the tracks area. And it's worth just editing anything that you need to. You can zoom in by holding down Alt and scrolling with the mouse scroll wheel, and change those things. Whilst I'm here, it's worth saying that you can change the end of the sample as well, and you can create a fade out, a fade in, and you can even get parts of your sample to loop. So let's say that you were playing the violin and you wanted to make it sound as if they were just bowing it forever and ever. You can go to mode and click one of the loop modes, and then you can set the zone that you want it to loop. You can have crossfades, etc. And now, although it will be horrible, it will keep looping over and over and over. So useless for ukulele, let's turn it off, but quite useful for other things. There is lots of modulation sources. You can increase the number of envelopes and LFOs that you have access to. There are filters at the top that might be very useful, particularly if you choose a high pass for rolling off some of the low frequency rumble maybe that was introduced through less than ideal recording scenarios over the last few days. There are lots of details here, for example, the number of voices that are able to be played at once. If I'm recreating a guitar, I might want to reduce that to 6 because guitars obviously can't play more than that. If I wanted to recreate a piano, then I want to be able to play lots of notes at once and increase the polyphony. Here's the mode of polyphony. Here is the amount of pitch bend that I will allow based on the bend wheel on the keyboards themselves. A global transpose, global glide, etc. That's the portamento setting. So there's lots of things I can change in Sampler, and it really is very flexible. I'm interested in how realistic you might be able to get something to sound, or perhaps how creative you can be. And something that will help you do that is to then just click on this instrument and duplicate it. And remember that every one of these although you can save them and use them in other projects, at the moment they should have totally different instances, totally different copies of the same instrument. So now I could change the filter on one, it hasn't changed the filter on the other. So I'll duplicate it again, and then I can change some more settings and make maybe a really sensible instrument, and then a more creative one, and then a really wacky one that uses different kinds of modulation, and perhaps you can make something that's really interesting and unique, totally your own.